And what does it mean?
It's about trade, of course, but it's also
What
about
are your long-term objectives?
to have more companies from Hong Kong expanding and having their successful businesses in Europe and vice versa.
How do you envision the future?
All the fundamentals for doing business in Hong Kong remains the same, if not even stronger.
How do you see, let's call it, slight competition from the GBA area?
Yes, we like competition. I'm from Hong Kong. I think we are competitive.
So they're the most important skill for the future business.
So apart from the hard skills, I think the
Chris, I've known you for a while, but for all those who have not had a chance to meet you, who are you?
Thank you, Philip, this morning to have a chance to have me here. My name is Chris Low. I represent the Hong Kong Trade Development Council in charge of our operation in Europe, Central Asia, and Israel.
And what does it mean?
There are a few keywords I probably should start with my role for the HKTDC. It's about trade, of course, but it's also about borders. It's about facilitation. It's about business opportunities. I think these are very important for Hong Kong, but also for all our counterparts in the region.
In short, what are your long-term objectives?
In the long term, definitely we would love to have more companies from Hong Kong expanding and having their successful businesses in Europe and vice versa. I think Hong Kong is a hub for business opportunities here in Asia, and I have a good reason to invite and also to engage a lot of European companies to take these opportunities.
I know Hong Kong is or has been a hub for many, many years, but how do you envision the future of this Europe-Hong Kong collaboration?
This is a question I actually hear a lot recently. All the fundamentals for doing business in Hong Kong remains the same, if not even stronger. So from the basic, we speak the language, we understand each other in terms of English and Chinese, but also there are lots of good reasons with our low taxation regime, with the very ease of doing business environment, and a lot of spirit of entrepreneurship. Right now, I guess a lot of the recent happenings in terms of, for example, the exhibitions we organize in Hong Kong, the events that we collaborate both in Hong Kong and back in Europe, we see actually more and more of our companies and visitors coming back. Hong Kong is easy, but at the same time, it remains very international with a lot of companies based here in Hong Kong. Actually, the highest, if we look at the number as of end of last year, close to 10,000 companies residing in Hong Kong, calling Hong Kong home or the regional base. I think that means a lot and also a good example for the others to come. Vice versa, I think for our companies from Hong Kong, when they're expanding into Europe, usually, they want to see where it's easy to start, how to tackle some practical questions. Again, probably if I frame it how in the long term we can work better to each other, I think the mutual understanding and the way we can help each other and complement each other would be the most important.
How do you see, let's call it, slight competition from the GBA area?
Yes.
Because there is more and more open areas in the GBA within it who offer very preferential conditions to open and set up a company there.
We like competition. I'm from Hong Kong. I think we are competitive. At the same time, I think it's not just about competition. I think competition in some way is also a way to complement each other. Within the Greater Bay Area, for sure, Hong Kong has a very strong role to play, not just as only the international financial center, more and more also in terms of development of our own innovations and the vertical industries, in terms of logistics, supply chain management, just to name but a few. I guess the way we try to work closer within the region with other major cities in Guangdong also are key in terms of how we divide the work or how we can complement each other. I give you one example. When I talked to recently companies from Europe, so they are looking of the opportunities here in Asia, particularly in the Greater Bay Area. So they asked me, okay, should I go to Shenzhen or Hong Kong or Dongguan? Question about competition, maybe. But I explained, of course, firstly, this is a region which is very connected. You can understand if you go from Hong Kong to Shenzhen or to Dongguan or even Guangzhou, it's not that difficult. It's not that far. So people can commute within a day and easily, do meetings in different cities. Of course, it's a preference of lifestyle. They always like Hong Kong. I would also explain to them that within this region, the complementary way to do business could be when this company are looking for some sort of advancing their prototyping in terms of getting their devices ready for the local market here in Asia. Hong Kong is a good place to start, but we work actually, for example, very closely with our partners from Shenzhen or from Dongguan, who are also very capable and innovative in terms of fine-tuning, adjusting, some elements of the device. And I think that would become even more customized, more localized. That would be important for them to, go further step into the Asian market next. And then, of course, we have investors here. We have also, as I explained, the ease of doing business environment. This gives a lot of reason why they can, for example, choose Hong Kong to be a hub to work with different partners. So I think competition, yes, for sure, we like competition. We want always to be better. At the same time, let's work together. And for companies from Europe, I don't think they just look at Hong Kong as a market on our own. I think it's actually by and large, when they look into Asia, why Hong Kong can give a more, welcoming kind of like a stepping stone to go forward.
I understand that Hong Kong Trade Development Council works both ways, to Hong Kong and out of Hong Kong. So which areas in Europe would you say have the most potential these days for the Hong Kong companies to go?
You're right. Actually, we promote two-way trade and investment. So in other words, we support a lot of Hong Kong companies to go to Europe. I think in terms of opportunities, that goes a lot with the directions of development within Europe. I probably give a few examples. There are some differentiations among different nations within Europe. I would say overall, the agendas of green and sustainability is on the top of the agendas of not just the nations, not just the continent, but also in the minds of the companies. For the reasons of compliance, for the reason also of advancement and sustainability, I would say. So I think the first area that interests a lot of our Hong Kong companies would be in terms of green and sustainability. I think we have very good solutions in Hong Kong, in the context also quite different from Europe, because Hong Kong, or even as a whole in Asia, is a very densely populated areas. We live in a very urbanized kind of environment. For a lot of reasons though, different kind of solutions applying to our smart buildings or like the whole floor smart city developments give good cases or references to some application in Europe. I think these kind of solutions needs to work probably to scale. Secondly, I think more and more interestingly is also when we talk about our innovations, that also implies healthcare applications or even some of our very strong sector like financial services. But when I say innovation, I think that also goes into different kind of stages of development. From the very early stage, advanced research and development, I see, for example, universities in Hong Kong work very closely and widely with different universities and research institutions in Europe. Then the interesting part is business, where the HKTDC facilitates a lot. So we want to see from both sides how these solutions or advanced research can be commercialized. I would, of course, promote Hong Kong as a place where commercialization could take place quite easily and also within the framework of very good protection. Then I think to scale up, I think is probably the last part. And again, Hong Kong, we have a very strong pool of financial resources. Right. This is something, I guess, that attracts quite some of the interests of our European counterparts. And I think this is two-way flow. So when there are projects that are working with each other, I would be very happy to see the growth together. So that would be probably another area I would like to emphasize for today. Lastly, as usual, I think we still see Hong Kong in terms of lifestyle being very attractive. Of course, to all our good friends from Europe, but also here in the space in Asia, as we see, research of tourists coming back to Hong Kong for business reason, for tourism reason. I think this is still a very important trend-setting city for a lot of our friends within the region. So that also gives an opportunity for European brands or companies, to showcase again their solutions here, to showcase, their very quality products here. So this connection and exchange in terms of creativity would be another area we want, for example, to bring in more companies and fashions designers, product designers to Europe to let them know about our way of interpretation of creativity. But then I think from us at the end it's still business. I think when they see there are projects they can work together, that would be very nice that we want to support.
And which countries in Europe are for now the most attractive, it seems, for the Hong Kong companies?
It's a very tricky question. I would say a lot, but traditionally, let's say we have very strong tie with countries, including, of course, the UK, France, and Italy. Germany is also very important in terms of industrial development. So I think at least for these very important economies in Europe, I see very strong tie.
And what will you define as the biggest challenges for Hong Kong companies to go to Europe?
I think for them, Europe is a big market. Like your previous questions, okay, where should I start? Is it a problem with my language? Is it a problem that I understand perfectly the culture or the kind of preferences or tastes of the consumers there? This is always the very first question they ask. Then they will look into probably the legal and framework in terms of how, for example, their businesses or their products need to qualify or certify in terms of registration, in terms of the actual sales channels, etc. These are practical questions. But I think they are the entrepreneurs. They know very well and they are very adaptive. I'm always confident about our companies from Hong Kong. They always try their best, and be very efficient into finding all these answers. And of course, my team in Europe are always there to present and also to explain to them. In some cases, even to refer them to the right partner, to the right counterparts to understand and to proceed with this kind of registration and preparation, so that when they are set up, when they are ready, they can go big.
So that means that the companies from Hong Kong can actually give you a call or your representatives, and then they will be guided through.
That's right, that's right. We have different channels, of course, to help the companies with more kind of massive or scalable kind of event platforms to help them get access to a bigger potential, clusters of clients. But with more dedicated questions, I think we can have a team to support them to match with potential partners or even to guide them to potential consumers.
Today we have AI, we have drones, we have low altitude economy coming up. What would you consider the most important skill for the future leaders or for the future businessmen, for the young people to try to develop to be successful?
It's actually a difficult question to answer. I think we have too much to learn these days. At the end, we may not be able to know everything. I think the world is actually getting more specialized and also a lot of expertise are required. So to get well prepared, I suppose that definitely, in terms of digital, we need to be fully aware of what is happening. We should have some good skills, let's say. But I still feel like people-to-people kind of connections remains important. So the skill set, how we talk to people, how we understand each other remains particularly important. I think at the end, we want to build a trust partnership with each other. We want to understand the needs from both sides in order to do business together. So apart from the hard skills from AI or from different kind of digital capability to do business, I think the human touch remains that very important to me.
So communication and empathy.
Yes, empathy is the right word.
You mentioned trust. So you've been living in Asia and Europe for many, many years. Is there a difference in building trust between people or between companies in those two places?
I think so. I think so. What I mean trust is, firstly, to understand each other, to have the empathy, as you rightly said, and to be accountable. Basically, in terms of business partnership, when we suggest the way we work with each other, I think the trust remains that we deliver, we fulfill our promises. And I do feel in terms of our business etiquette here in Hong Kong, with our kind of international connections, we do have an advantage to understand better in terms in a multicultural environment, in terms of how the counterparts expect us from Hong Kong or as a company to fulfill or to deliver. This is sometimes the questions or even a barrier when European companies work with companies in Asia, from Asia. So they would say, okay, are you going to deliver the product to me? Is there any kind of hidden agenda in the contract? If there's an issue or dispute, how should I handle it? Because you don't have the trust, because you don't have an understanding whether we can be a long-term partner. I think Hong Kong remains very important for the reason that we have a long history and experience working internationally. And that trust is, I would say, quite irreplaceable.
What is a small habit that you developed that has had a huge impact on your career?
In my role right now, I would say I actually meet a lot of people, a lot of companies every day. So our small habit that I can share would be how I digest at the end of every day. So let's say if I have 10 meetings today, I talk with a lot of great ideas, with a lot of great possibilities. At the end, I would allow myself some time to digest, to slow down, and to think thoroughly, what would be the interesting part that we have potentially explore, what would be a next step we can help companies to further develop, in the market, etc. And sometimes in terms of conversation like what we have here, you would hear some not just trend, but also in terms of some perception or ideas about Hong Kong, about the difficulties of doing business we face, about the challenging environment we have right now for international global trade. So these are some food for thought for myself, of course, to improve my work, to remind my team what are the demands or needs of our clients that they're looking for, but also sometimes to remind why Hong Kong is important. Because if Hong Kong can answer all these questions, I think we have a value to add. We have a reason to play an important role. So my small habit would be to really digest every day at the end what we have learned, what we have seen, and what we can do better tomorrow.
And how do you do it? Do you just sit down and think, or do you maybe, I don't know, record, write a diary, take notes?
I'm still a little bit old school. I do take notes. I think these notes are process for me to remember things, for me to digest, and also to analyze what are the importance. So I think when you sit down at the end of the day, you look at your notes or you think thoroughly what you have done during the day, you would pick a few keywords to bring on for the next day.
So I'm okay with taking notes, but then they pile up, and then it's difficult to go back to the previous ones, like from a year ago or 2-3 years ago. How do you have any method for that?
I manage my notes in a way, at least I understand quite well. You don't just flip a page and do a new notes the next day. The notes can be integrated over time. And I think what we have discussed, what we have learned today, could in many ways associate to the things that happened yesterday or 2 months ago. So the way you manage your notes, you manage actually your way of thinking is to add on the ideas or the elements that you have learned and you believe and you build on it. I think that would be a better approach than just taking notes and flip through and you forget what you have written the other day.
But you still do it on paper?
I use my iPhone actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's also good because it's digitalized.
Yes.
So whenever I need to build on my notes, it's much better than I type again and do stuff.
Okay.
But sometimes I still like my pen. I still like my paper. That also is another form to stimulate my brain to think in a different way.
If you were writing a playbook for someone starting trading between Hong Kong and Europe, what would the first chapter cover?
Practicality. I think for a lot of businesses, they really need to think pragmatic. I mean, it's an investment. It's a lot of effort, to go through this process of trading. So practicality in terms of all these requirements we discussed earlier about the market, about the ways how we work with the counterparts overseas. Then I think if we think longer term, if we think bigger, you want to scale up your business, you want to scale up your activities of export or importing. Sometimes I think you need to see the trend in terms of the market needs, but you also want to make an impact in terms of your work. You don't just buy and sell. I think this is actually a good business, but if you want to be, further up to scale up your businesses, you need to pick the right reason why people would trade today, but also tomorrow. So I think this is actually a more thorough process in terms of how you define your work or your businesses and to grow in the longer term.
What is in demand these days?
I like a recent conversation I had with a company. So they give me actually a very good thought. people always said, okay, you need to find the pain point, you need to find the demand of the
Yeah.
market. Sometimes it's not that difficult. When you are dealing with your customers, you actually sometimes receive very good feedback. Okay, they like you as a good supplier, they like your services, etc. But in the bad days, you also receive complaints or comments. Those comments or complaints actually are not something you should ignore. Those actually are the pain point. If they complain to you, oh, why my delivery comes so late? There's a reason in terms of the logistics, in terms of the arrangement or expectation of your customers. Then you can think about, should I improve? How can I improve? What is the bottleneck? What's the problem I have? And I feel like this is probably the way when you find about these pain points, not just in terms of the services level, not just in terms of the client's experience, but sometimes they probably would ask you, okay, do you have this kind of products? I actually want to reorder my last order, 2 weeks ago. That's also, the reason to give you an indication what are in terms of trend. But of course, in a more macro kind of mentality, as what many of our projects HKTDC has recently been focusing on, such as the silver economy, such as all this application of innovations. I talk about the green tech. Same for the silver economy. If we are aging older, if we still want to be healthy, we want to live happier, would there be good solutions? Would there be relevant products I should need, not just to cure my disease, but also to prevent disease from happening, if possible?
So the silver economy is like a trendy term that recently came up.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a focus of Hong Kongese companies right now to specialize in?
I think so. I see more and more companies looking into this market and doing relevant products and solutions, tackling these healthy aging issues we have or we want to have. If you look at the trend, of course, I mean, you understand that the population is getting older and older. Hong Kong actually is one of the places, if not the only places, that we live much longer in terms of expectancy. So I think we share this feeling that we need those kind of solutions. Sometimes it doesn't need to be kind of like a breakthrough or like a brand new kind of invention. It's not only that. Some gadgets, some facilitation or support for our general kind of day-to-day life could also mean a lot. For a lot of good businesses, I think probably a few of them are kind of like a breakthrough, like one of the onlys. Many successful companies build on the experience of something not necessarily totally inventive. They actually improve the service, they improve the experience. Those are always the winners.
I think you're absolutely right. There are so many companies and so many products we use daily, and they are not innovative at all, right? I mean, we use the table, and it's just a table for hundreds of years.
Yes.
In a table.
We have actually good companies winning international design award. When I look at the Red Dot Design, for example, you see the list. Actually, quite some products are coming or design manufactured in or by Hong Kong. So I think that gives a reason why these some small changes or some little improvement actually means a lot to the end consumers.
I always like to set up a challenge with my guests for the viewers. You are, as you mentioned, networking every day. So what challenge would you set up for our listeners, for our viewers, that they could do every day to improve their networking skills?
I accept the challenge. Sometimes you talk a lot. You should also listen. So I think the way you can manage to listen from who you are talking to and from their words to understand the basic meaning, but also the deep down kind of thoughts would be very important. So try to practice to listen and to talk. Okay. I think that's the way to communicate.
So just go out, wait at the bus stop and talk to people.
Well, when I have some conversations sometimes with Hong Kong companies, they come to Europe. Not every one of them are, let's say, full of total confidence. They can speak loudly, they can explain, their solutions and products. So when we chat, I think I also try to ask some questions, hopefully to stimulate their way of thinking. Actually, you're good, but you need to tell people why you're good.
Right.
I think the same in terms of the products that they're selling or in terms of the solutions that they're promoting. So they need to find the right ways to present the same thing in a way that their listeners from Europe would have a better understanding or would have an empathy to better feel like, okay, this is the product I'm looking for. You are the right partners I want to meet.
Chris, Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip, for this very good opportunities.